In space, no one can hear you scream. Hello YouTubers, my name is Frederick Lopez, and today on The Final Cut I'm going to be reviewing Alien. Let's go. Hello YouTubers, my name is Frederick Lopez, and today on The Final Cut I'm going over the 1979 classic directed by Ridley Scott, Alien. Yes, Alien is a different type of horror film. It's science fiction, but it also, in essence, is a horror film, much like Jaws. And it's in space. The tagline is, "In space, no one can hear you scream." And it was made right after Star Wars and still kind of has what the original Star Wars had in that dark and gritty, realistic space operatic feel to it. But ultimately, it's science fiction with inside the horror genre. So, I'm going to go over what Alien is about, as well as a cast and crew. Just a quick synopsis, cast and crew, and then I'm going to get to spoiler territory with my favorite moments. So first off, the cast. Alien stars Tom Skerritt as Dallas, Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, Veronica Cartwright as Lambert, Harry Dean Stanton as Brett, John Hurt as Kane, Ian Holm as Ash, Yaphet Kotto as Parker. It's directed by Ridley Scott. What is Alien about? Well, it's about a space merchant vessel called the Nostromo receiving an unknown transmission, a distress call. They land on the source moon to see what it's about, only to find one of the crew attacked by a mysterious life form. They continue their journey back to Earth on the Nostromo, with the attacked crew having recovered, and the critter believed to be deceased. But they soon realize that its life cycle has merely begun, as it terrorizes them one by one on the spaceship. So yeah, that's pretty much what Alien is about. The creature is known as a xenomorph. And it's just a brilliant film. Not only is it a science fiction film, but a horror film, because it's on the space vessel, the Nostromo, but ultimately they're trapped with this one alien inside a ship, not knowing where he is, and he's evolving throughout the film, picking them off one by one. And something about that is very scary, because they're by themselves, and no one can hear you scream in space. So it has elements of Jaws, and also like a slasher horror film with an alien, with him just picking off the next victims. Ridley Scott directed it. The writers originally envisioned Ripley to be a male character, and they ended up getting Sigourney Weaver, so it was changed to female. But I'm so glad the character could work either way, but it makes it interesting having Sigourney Weaver play Ellen Ripley, a female character, which is very, very rare for a sci-fi film. But in essence, it does work for the horror genre. We've had so many other female heroines in the horror genre with Laurie Strode in Halloween, or Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street. There's just so many other female heroines in the horror genre that this kind of fits for Alien. The visual effects and some artwork was done by H.R. Geiger. He came up with the design of the xenomorph, and it's really scary. Originally it was going to have eyelids, and they ended up having no eyes, and they just had the creature's head, and it looks very scary on film. The first one, it's a guy in a suit practically, but Ridley Scott would always shoot it sideways and never front because of its human qualities. So he basically shot it in different angles. And he also did all the handheld work himself. The models and stuff were done really well. The film is in the 70s. Some of the models look just a tad dated, but not in a bad way. It stands up very well today, almost like the original Star Wars and Blade Runner. I mean, you could tell some of the old practical effect methods from the earlier films, but ultimately it still looks as phenomenal today as it did back then, I feel. The Xenomorph only has 4 minutes of screen time, and that's very effective. And it really shows you how well crafted this film is, that you don't see the xenomorph, and he only has 4 minutes of screen time, yet with the use of camera work, music, set design, everything gives that sense of suspense and dread, much like Jaws. It's just almost like Jaws, where he's not really revealed until the end of the film, but like his presence is still felt throughout the entire film. John Hurt did a great job. Yeah, that chestburster scene's crazy, especially for those who haven't seen it for the first time. And just like, and that alien just so creepy, and then just goes out of nowhere. You don't know what happened. That was creepy, and the fact that that little creature we see at the beginning evolves. The face hugger is actually supposed to be a green color, and the writers were on board during the production system. Leave it as is. It looks better. And then for the eggs, when they go to the moon and John Hurt's character is looking at the eggs, that was just cattle meat and some other stuff, natural stuff, to make it look organic. And then as far as like the face hugger, when Ash, the android, was dissecting it, it was oysters, fresh oysters, 4 of them. So that was really cool how they used natural stuff to make it look real. Everything was grounded, felt real. The sets were real. The creatures and everything was real. It felt like a tangible, real universe that could actually exist. And that's what I like about it, especially compared to later on sci-fi films, and most of all horror films. The fact that it feels real means it could happen. As an audience member looking on the film, if you feel like you're in that universe at that moment, you feel like you're with Ripley as this alien is terrorizing the Nostromo. It's nice seeing the Prometheus ship. They call it the Croissant ship. Yeah, that ship was in Prometheus. The space jockey, famous stuff. That is brilliantly designed. I like H.R. Geiger's work in this film. But ultimately, the cast does a great job at selling the monster and working with each other and creating that sense of dread. And I really like all the performances. I think they're solid. And it's kind of cool seeing the computers. You can tell it's a bit 70s, but it's still futuristic. Ash being an android was a total surprise, and something even more scary than the alien itself, because it was unexpected and yet was like a human creation. So that in itself was a lot more scarier than the alien, and it aided into the film and you being with Ripley through this horrible experience. And of course, like towards the end, when the alien's there on the ship with her, total horror movie where you think the villain's dead and he's there. The monster's there. The monster's still alive. All that was done perfectly, and then him getting shot out into space. But that's just my quick favorite moments of the film. There's a director's cut as well as a theatrical. Now, I got the Alien quadrilogy, which has all the Alien films, and they have the theatrical versions and the director's cut versions included. And I do like the extra stuff added. There's a little bit more stuff with the ship. We see her go back for the cat, and then when her crew's there, they're not immediately dead. They're taken and harvested next to the eggs for the babies to get into and basically incubate in there, kind of like they did to Newt in Aliens, its sequel. And Ripley has to basically flamethrower and kill her crew in the eggs, and that's even more powerful and just shows you what she has to survive through before the Nostromo blows up and she escapes. And I really love the ending. Sigourney Weaver was actually in the running with Meryl Streep to be Ripley, and it came down between them two. Anyways, there's like numerous actors and actresses who are trying out for the role, and what won Sigourney Weaver in the screen test was her speech in the final scene of the film. And it's really great. It's an isolated movie. Even though they're sequels, it really is kind of a standalone film, the first Alien. And I really like it as a horror film, a horror sci-fi film. It's very different, it's refreshing, and it uses both genres' rules. Me personally, I really love the film, but it's not my favorite out of the series. I'm kind of the guy who's more into James Cameron's Aliens, the sequel. And but I do respect Alien for its craft. Visual effects are amazing. Everything is state-of-the-art and is done to the highest quality. But I also like what the writers did in the story. They really made a well-crafted sci-fi horror film, which is very rare back then and even so now. Both of them ended up doing different movies. One of the writers actually helped write Total Recall, the film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. And another one did some other films with Free Jack, with Emilio Estevez. So that's kind of cool. And Ridley Scott, of course, ended up going on to do many great films like Gladiator, Blade Runner, Kingdom of Heaven, Robin Hood. He even did the pseudo-prequel to Alien called Prometheus. And I like how that ties into that. But yeah, Alien is a well-crafted film. Despite me liking Aliens more, I really do like Alien as a horror film. And if I had to give it a score, I would give Alien a 4.5 out of 5, 8.5 out of 10, and A. Yep, that's my review for Alien. I would give it an A for Alien. It's very hard to have a horror film hold your interest with just one monster, and he's not shown to the last 4 minutes. That's just great storytelling and great filmmaking right there for the audience to be able to sit through that. Now, it does have kind of a slow start, but once the alien incubates within John Hurt's character and explodes out of his chest, once it's out on the ship, the film becomes very exciting and kind of like on the edge of your seat in a way. And it's really cool seeing everything, again, be like a tangible universe. So that's just my quick thoughts and reflections on Alien, on the final cut, and why I think it is a well-worthy horror film, sci-fi horror film that does make the final cut. You should definitely check it out. It's very different, and it's among one of the best in the genre of both horror and sci-fi. Even with the budget and everything, it's high, but like I always love films that deal with the genre of horror and stuff, but they elevate it to new lengths, and it's very cool seeing science fiction and horror put together in this way, in space. It's a perfect environment. It's almost like people being trapped in a snowstorm in like John Carpenter's The Thing. It has everything that a good horror film has, as well as a good science fiction film. So I would highly recommend watching Alien, because in space, no one can hear you scream. But on Earth, everyone can hear you scream. Till next time, guys, this is Frederick Lopez. I hope you enjoyed the final cut. Let me know what you liked about the film, whether you've seen it, haven't seen it, liked it, didn't like it. What are your favorite moments? Just feel free to like, comment, and if you want, subscribe. I'll have more episodes of the final cut coming up. So yeah, enjoy, guys.